Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition and metabolism. Hopefully this is going to be kind of a quick one for you. After your digestive system breaks down food into all its nutrients and they get absorbed into the bloodstream, the nutrients then enter the cells and they undergo chemical reactions. This is what's known as metabolism. It's through the process of metabolism that nutrients are transformed into energy or other materials that the body can either use or store. You can see here that some of the body systems demand a greater supply of energy than others, like the skeletal muscles here require 22%. The liver is right behind that at 20%, and then your brain at 20%. Adipose tissue only need about 4%. So your skeletal muscles, your liver, and your brain use the majority of the energy that is obtained from all those nutrients. Energy expenditure is what is measured by the output of heat from the body. A calorie is the amount of heat that is needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Now, I don't know who decided that. Some guy named Celsius, I think. I'm not really sure. But that's the standard that's used to measure. The basal metabolic rate is the amount of energy your body needs at rest to just maintain itself if you're not exercising or up or moving around at all. There are some things that can increase the metabolic rate, like anxiety, if you have a fever. If you're eating, your metabolic rate increases as your body processes the food that you just took in. And thyroid hormones can affect your metabolic rate. Physical activity also affects your caloric need. And to maintain your weight, your calorie intake must equal your output or your calorie use. So they say if you need to lose weight, you can't take in more than a certain number of calories a day. If you want to just maintain it, it's a different number. Things that also can affect the metabolic rate is body size and composition. People who are larger or who have more muscle mass tend to burn more calories. Especially the larger ones, if you're exercising, you're going to burn more calories doing the same exercise than somebody who has less body mass. Men tend to have less body fat and more muscle than women of the same age and same age and weight. So men tend to burn more calories, which also explains why men lose weight a lot easier. And then aging, as you age, your muscle mass declines, which is going to slow your metabolic rate down. Talk about carbohydrates for a minute. Carbohydrates are really the body's primary source of energy. They occur in 3 different forms: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Monosaccharides are the simple sugars. They're absorbed. They don't need to be broken down any further. Some examples of that include glucose, fructose, and galactose. Examples of disaccharides, and these are ones that have to be broken down into monosaccharides, di indicating that there's 2 monosaccharides together. Examples of this are sucrose or table sugar, lactose, and maltose. Then examples of polysaccharides, and these are kind of like complex carbohydrates. These are the ones that need to be broken down. There's more than 2 saccharides with them. There's at least 3, probably more than that. Examples of this are starches that are found in vegetables, grains, potatoes, rice, and legumes or beans. As adults, we should obtain about 40 to 50% of our calories from carbohydrates. Lipids. Lipids are actually fat. It's an ideal substance for storing energy. It's more compact than carbohydrates. It's also more energy dense. Each gram of fat contains about 9 calories per gram compared to 4 calories for each gram of carbohydrates. They can be saturated or unsaturated. There's also polyunsaturated fats. Saturated fats are derived mainly from animals. They tend to be solid at room temperature. This is like hydrogenated oils like margarine or shortening. And then unsaturated fats occur in nuts, seeds, vegetable oils. They tend to be in liquid form at room temperature. And ideally, fat should comprise no more than 30% of an adult's daily intake. And no more than 20% should be saturated fat. Proteins. There's complete proteins and incomplete proteins. Your body actually contains over 100,000 different proteins. Each of them consists of various combinations of only just 20 amino acids. Remember, amino acids are what make up proteins. During the process of digestion, proteins are broken down into their individual amino acids, and then once they're absorbed, the body puts them back together to create a new protein for a specific purpose. The body can't store extra amino acids, but studies have shown that the body can combine complementary proteins that are consumed over the course of a day. So it's not necessary for every amino acid to be present in the same meal for the body to make a new protein. Foods that supply all the essential amino acids, which make them available all at the same time, are called complete proteins, and foods that lack one or more essential amino acids are called incomplete proteins. Complete proteins mainly come from animal sources, and incomplete proteins come from plant sources. Vitamins, there are really two different types of vitamins, water-soluble and fat-soluble. Water-soluble are absorbed with water in the small intestine. They're excreted by the kidneys. In almost all vitamins, except for vitamin D, which can be formed by exposure of the skin to the sun, which we learned back in the integumentary system, almost all vitamins must be obtained through food. Fat-soluble vitamins are absorbed with dietary fat, and they're stored in the liver and in the fat tissues. Fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins A, E, and K. There's another one in there. I can't remember what it is right now. If you get too many of these fat-soluble vitamins, I want to say C, but I can't remember for sure, megadosing of these could lead to toxicity and illness. And then minerals. Minerals are needed for numerous vital functions. The most abundant minerals are calcium and phosphorus. So metabolism, we talked about earlier, is the whole of all chemical reactions in your body. Inside the cell, nutrients are transformed through metabolism into energy that the body can use immediately or it can store for later. Catabolism breaks down complex substances into simpler ones or into energy. And then anabolism is used in protein metabolism. I always think anabolism, it forms complex substances that build things up. I always remember like when it used to be pretty popular for athletes to use anabolic steroids to help build their muscles. That's how I remember the difference between anabolism and catabolism. So we've talked about thermal regulation before. Your body temperature normally fluctuates. It's the heat is what results as a byproduct of the chemical reactions occurring in cells. There's three main methods of heat loss or heat transfer, I guess. I don't know. Radiation is the transfer of heat through the air by electromagnetic heat waves. Like, for example, you're standing in the bright sunlight, you feel the warmth from the sunlight. Conduction is a transfer of heat between two materials that touch, like you're holding on to your hot cup of coffee to warm your hands up because it's cold in the room or cold outside. And then evaporation requires heat to change water into a gas. We talked about this before, the regulation of body temperature. The hypothalamus is the body's thermostat. It monitors the temperature of the blood and sends signals to the blood vessels and the sweat glands. When your body temperature rises, your hypothalamus sends signals to the blood vessels and tells them to dilate, especially the blood vessels in your skin. More warm blood flows close to the body's surface, and heat is lost through the skin. If the temperature stays high, if that isn't enough to cool your body down, then the sweat glands in the skin start to produce sweat, and the evaporation of the sweat produces cooling. If the body temperature falls below normal, the opposite happens. The hypothalamus sends the signals to the blood vessels in the skin to constrict, so that instead of the warm blood flowing to the skin, the warm blood remains confined deep inside the body. As a result, less heat is lost through the skin. If the body temperature remains low, if that's not enough to bring the temperature back up, then you're going to start to shiver. Muscle contractions associated with shivering release heat, and that raises the body temperature. Remember, one of the functions of the muscular system was produce heat by the action of the muscles. So we've talked about, this week, we've talked about the digestive system, and here we talked about the different nutrients and absorption of the different nutrients, how they're broken down. And I think that's it for now.